Hello and welcome to TMKF Netrunner. I'm not Yeti, and this video is slightly different. We're going to be doing a replay review of the finals of Maninthemoon's online world pre-Worlds Showdown from last night, where in the finals Santa played the Azmari combo list, which is super is deck that I helped make with EA Sports. I know that he has very, very kindly shared this replay with me, um, and I know that he had only played the deck for the first time the day before, um, and so he makes a lot of decisions in this game that I probably wouldn't have made, and I'm just gonna go through all of that. I think he did fantastically to win the tournament, blind picking up the deck, and I think demonstrates some of why the deck is so good. But be aware. This isn't meant as a knock. I'm very, very grateful to him, and we chatted a bit, and he's very, very lovely. So, yeah. So some context. Um, Santa is playing this Dial EA for Murder version, the version we played at EMEA, which I think has some unique or distinct disadvantages in the matchup, namely piranhas is a big one. And I also think that like uh, the sender messages as well also don't help necessarily. But and also we're on 2 Dupestat, which is a big drawback. If we had Neurospike, it would help us a lot playing around the class act. If you would like to play a more up-to-date version of the list, I would recommend either, if you're quite familiar with Azmari, playing competitively Hollow, Cobra Bubbles version of it, which plays RLC. Or if you're just coming to the list for the first time after watching it on stream last night, competitively Roto, which is the version I played at the event, I think is super beginner friendly and has quite a good matchup spread. And yeah, so this is the list that I would recommend. Right. So, without further ado, let's. With further ado, let's talk about the matchup. So, 419. What's the criminal matchup like for Azmari? They have a couple of really quite important cards for the matchup. Everybody's running pinhole threading, but it's worth being aware when you're playing Dupestad about pinhole threading. Dupestad is not that weak to pinhole. It's actually really, I think, quite robust into decks playing pinhole threading. And there's 2 reasons for that. There are kind of 2 play patterns that you can do with the Dupestad. One of them is you have Hollow Man, Re-Education, and Dupestad in the remote with no advancements on any of them, and essentially installed in a random order. If you can do that, and the runner plays the pinhole threading, they have a 1 in 3 chance of hitting the Dupestad, a 1 in 3 chance of hitting the Hollow Man, which is a speed bump but not the end of the world, and a 1 in 3 chance of hitting the Re-Education that does nothing. It costs them a credit to play, and it gives you 2 credits when they play it. Plus, if they're trashing something, it's going to cost them even more. So it can be quite a big tempo swing, and also it can just whiff. So think of it as similar to PD with a Managam Anoetic, and you really need to pinhole the Anoetic, you know? Additionally, they've got Inside Job and Boomerang, both of which will do a fantastic job of helping us cheat through Ice on the Remote. We have Diesel, Earthrise, and the Class Act, which are all really good for drawing up to 7 cards, which is the important number for getting through Piranhas. One of the line with which you will lose to Criminal the most, I think, when you're playing this version of the list, is when you set up the combo on turn 4 or 5, behind a Piranhas and something else, even 2 Piranhas, and the runner plays the Class Act to delay you by a turn from scoring right because they have a 9 hand size. What they'll then often do is just run the remote, click 1 or 2, because with 9 hand size, really the odds of you stopping them from getting through, from cheating through piranhas is really slim, and they can often pick up uh, the agenda at that point. So really worth noting that they're bad cards for us in the matchup. Um, there's a few other interesting things like falsified credentials. Amakua is going to be like the way that they want to break all ice. We're going to leave our centrals really open. So, um, like, I don't think we can play around that. But yeah, just be aware that actually the thing that Piranhas especially is really good for is being difficult to break fairly. They're going to have to take some damage, and Criminal doesn't like to take damage. So, let's get into the game. Uh, so yeah, first things first. This mulligan. Looking at this, I do not like this opening hand. The double punitive feels like it might actually be quite a convincing keep. If they accidentally steal an agenda, we might just be able to punitive kill them really early on in the game. We don't like to play like that though. We kind of have the concept of plan A and plan B. Plan A is combo kill out of the remote. Whenever we're playing the first few turns of the game, our goal is to combo kill them. And our plan B for when they steal an agenda is really most of the time we want to get the plan B kill when they've stolen from the remote, when they've spent money and resources to get in. And so opening punitive isn't actually that good. Ping is really good. It's ice for HQ, which is important for the doof. Although doof is not that actually that important in the matchup. If you're able to single ice HQ, the swing from doof, like playing it gives you 2 credits. They have to have an answer to some ice. It can really be very small. And so if it were me, I really wouldn't worry about diversion of funds that much, but it is worth installing 1 piece of ice on HQ. And it's either Serevna or Ping. So the Ping's nice. The Predictives does something. The Hollow Man doesn't really... It helps with the combo, but it's not necessary. I don't like this hand. If I were to mulligan into this hand, I think it's very playable. I would play Predictives, draw 3. I'd install Ping on HQ, and I'd probably do something with a card that we drew. But let's see how it gets played out. So we keep, which is, I think, a shame, but I think this is a trap. And it's probably the case that Santa is playing it out for that reason. And we draw. Mantra draw into a Piranhas. We have issues with the Piranhas. It's not that strong in the matchup. And it's not great to jam a Rashida behind. So we don't love to see this early. But it will go on the remote eventually. Here, I would Ice HQ and install Spin Doctor. We Ice HQ, and we install the Piranhas. I understand that. We also pay the 419 tax. I wouldn't have done that in this instance. There's basically 2 ice that you can install on HQ here. Ping or Serevna. I don't know what it gives you or gives the runner for them to know which one it is, especially. They're gonna have to like boomerang through it most of the time. And we're all for like if we go down to 1 credit resing the Serevna, then like the doof's what it is anyway. As the runner, I would be like hard reading this as a ping. So I don't love paying the 419 tax. We name event, which is obviously correct. They have like 20 something events in their deck. They get the Earthrise. Earthrise, as we've said, is very good for cheating through Piranhas. It means they start the turn on 7 cards in hand, which is the number that you need to run through a Piranhas. So we're very sad to see this. Right now, they can't do it, but it's okay. Problem is we don't have a Rashida remote, and we really want a Rashida. So what do? Okay. We didn't play the predictive last time, which I think is like the deck is trying to draw through the entire thing. You just want to send it every time. So here, again, I just want to send it. We do. We get some cards. Ping and Serevna are the 2 ice we want for the remote here. Serevna, outside of the Piranhas, makes all of that Earthrise stuff like way harder without their Sentry Breaker. And Ping actually says end the run and can let us score a Rashida. We don't have the Rashida yet. And we're like a little bit tax stuff. Me here, I'd install the Ping. And I'd install the Spin Doctor. I'd probably install the Spin Doctor outside of the remote, but there is a non-zero chance that what we do is we install the Spin Doctor inside the remote here to bait a pinhole. Um, in the matchup, the pinhole is really important for firing off a Rashida, and we know we want to do that once this game. I'd be tempted by that line, but we would end up clogging up the server. We actually do that. Okay. I understand why. This R&D ice seems very wrong to me. Um, I think that Santa is playing around wanting to like block out an Amakua, but with things like the falsified credentials in the list and inside jobs and boomerangs and stuff, and Serevna not actually ending the run, I think that that's actually borderline impossible. This Serevna does so much work in tandem with the Piranhas. I would have stuck it straight on the remote, but I would have done the ping first. Both of those ice on the remote. We have a three iced server, which is Piranhas, Ping, Serevna. The chances of them getting through that easily are slim to none. So throwing out the Hollow Man, which seems correct here. He's drawing probably for the pinhole. Although he was low on credits, maybe we could just like afford to install outside. Installs the Hermes. Hermes can do a great deal in the matchup in the late game if they are managing to get Central's accesses when the gem density is higher in the late game. It can really throw off the combo turn, but for the first like bit of the game, it almost never does anything. You normally want the first agenda score of the game should be the last agenda score or steal of the game in almost all games of the Azmari deck. Fantastic, we get the Rashida. Rashida's got to go in the remote. Ping's got to go on the outside so that we can do it. We're still open to pinhole, but he didn't pinhole last turn. He has drawn a few cards since then, but I'd be willing to take the risk. We pop it out. We ice archives. Okay. So we're playing around the pinhole. This turns off the pinhole, but he's on 7 cards in hand. The Piranhas isn't going to end the run. So I actually don't think this is a good Rashida jam. He goes up 7 cards, and he runs the remote. Punished exactly for the weaknesses of Piranha. Knowing that we could have played around it, we could have put the ping here, and we would have been feeling much better off. He uses the predictive on that turn to gain 3 credits, which I don't hate. We've not drawn a lot of economy, and it would have allowed us to install and res this ping convincingly. So I really don't like this Rashida push behind a single Piranhas. This is why, like, we have issues. And you get the Rashida. But this is the first point where you might think to yourself, genuinely unable to resolve a Rashida might lose us the game. Like, we've installed 2 pieces of ice that could have gone on our remote server, and we've just failed to resolve a Rashida. We've had these 2 cards in hand that have done nothing. And I think we'll continue to do nothing. And yeah, it's tough. We're not really in a position where we can push out the combo. We kind of need like at least 17 credits to be able to do that, and we're way off that. So interesting that we res here. I think this res is probably just bad. I don't think drawing up 1 card is worth 5 credits to us. Bad publicity doesn't tend to do anything in the matchup, so that's good for us. So it doesn't really concern us. But yeah. If I'm right, we end up hitting the Cat's Cradle. Now, the Cat's Cradle is like not necessarily great. It's 8 to fully break Piranhas, but you can break a Piranhas for 6, and you can break a Ping for 3. 2 things that if you have to do them multiple times in a game are really bad, but with this deck, they only have to break your ice pretty much once per game, so it's actually like acceptable. But it is a lucky hit. I'd say out of everything in the hand right now, we did get lucky. Maybe we preferred to hit the wake. I don't know, but now they've got more money than us, which is very sad. Okay, we've actually spent almost half the ice in the deck. Or is it exactly half? Yeah, because the old version has exactly 8 ice. So half of the ice in the deck has been spent, and this is why we can't protect against turtle, right? So But during the magnet, putting that on the remote will be nice. I'd expose it. I don't think you can do anything with it. This piranhas were never going to res. Um, but we could start to get Hollow Men down. I think we probably still need to resolve a Rashida to win this game. So I would probably hold the re-education in hand, although it's tempting to install it. We've still got an Earthrise left though, so putting it in the remote feels bad. I would or triple install this turn. And we expose the Hollow Man, which actually makes sense. Keeping this ice is probably also, but yeah, not paying the 4/9 tax. The runner has been incredibly diligent about not giving us Azmari money, um, which is holding them back to some extent. So I think we're okay with it, but it has meant that like we needed to resolve that Rashida. Um, Access is punitive. Trash is sudden. A little sad, but they spent 2 credits. Their credits aren't that important. Okay. They installed the Wake implant and hit the Kurapira. That was risky. I'm sure the second it happened, the encoder was like gutted, knew exactly what was happening. But yeah, that's one of those ones where you think, I'm not sure about that one. So it gets kept out. It's gonna be hard to charge the Wake, which is nice. But we're on 1 credit and we've got nothing. Yowzers. We need to draw Kurashida. We need to keep our credits up. Credit. Gives us this res. Gives us this res. Although I wouldn't look to res either of these now. And click for 3 credits. This is a sign that something has gone terribly wrong. I don't think I've ever spent a turn clicking for 3 credits with this deck. But actually the runner's position is also like quite compromised. So I think we still have outs. We res this revenue going down to 0 credits. How do I feel about that res? This is stopping them getting unlimited access to archives. I would have, yeah, this ice would have been so good on the remote. And just let them run R&D. They can do it once per turn, who cares, you know? If they spend money trashing stuff, that's good for us. Hitting a Rashida there is really rough. That's our second Rashida out. Oh, I actually hate what that does to our odds in this game. Wow. Okay. Ay caramba. Right. These 2 punitives are dead. These 2 piranhas are dead. These 2 summons can set us up for something good next turn. And the attitude adjustment doesn't do anything because we only have 1 agenda, and it's an agenda we want to keep in hand. So what do we do here? We need to click for some credits again. Probably draw some cards. 1, 2, 3, 4 cards we like. We're going to draw once, click twice. Worth noting, they talk about it here. Mining accident, bad publicity does almost nothing in the matchup. Realistically, and maybe we're like a little further in, so it's hard to tell. One of the reasons why we can afford to res piranhas and give them bad pub is they are really going to make like 2 or 3 impactful runs over the course of the game. So a bad publicity is not worth a lot of money. And them playing the mining accent costs them 2 credits and gives us 2 credits. The chances of them getting like good return on investment on this when we were this poor is quite slim. Credit, and we actually resolve a sudden into into the attitude adjustment. Okay. So how many cards did that draw us? What, 6? And it did solve our problems to some extent. Because we drawn into the Rashida, which we need. We drawn into the YDL, which we really need. There's still 2 more YDL in here, so Rashida can just like solve all of our money problems. And I guess at least we're safe to pinhole now. So this is fine, right? We're gonna shuffle back 2 agendas, and then we're gonna chuck out 2 punitive and 2 piranhas. We're never resing these piranhas. We need all of these cards. Yeah, correct. Discards. Draw. This is, I think, a big card once the Amakua comes down. But, like, turn 6 with no Amakua, most of the time we should have already won this game. We don't see the YDL until there are only 16 cards left in the deck, which is bad luck. But we kept a bad mulligan, and we could have been here so much faster if we'd been able to play this for, like, we played this for credits. We'd been able to, or played one of them for credits. And if we'd been able to resolve a Rashida, would have been huge. So, um, I think we did have money trouble this game, but that wasn't the deck's fault. That was due to some mistakes in the play. Um, we get the Amakua in hand, right? 2 Hollow Man already in the moat, so we don't need this one. We do really want the Rashida. We're kind of safe to pinhole. They can't do much on the remote. We just need enough money. So it's probably draw, install. Draw, install. I like this play. They've got enough to worry about pinhole-wise that the dupe is, like, maybe safe in the remote. And 14 cards left in the deck. Another one's dupe's dead. We've got a non-zero chance of just drawing off this Rashida. They falsified. They know that this is a Hollow Man, and they're really poor. So my guess is they just name Hollow Man and point at it. He's kind of realizing what's going on in the matchup. And we fire the Rashida. Oh, beautiful. Oh, the world is right again. We went from, I think, like, this is dire straits to, oh, this is wonderful. We're going to win this game in, like, record time. Opponent's got tags, so this predictive is fantastic. YDLs. What do I do? I'd definitely play a YDL here. I would install the re-education. They can get into HQ now, which means that Waken Plant can get charged, which means that I don't really want to be holding on to these agendas. So I've kind of got 2 options. Chuck them in the bin, or attitude them here. I think both of them are good. I think you've got 2 lines. One of them is YDL, install re-education. One of them is YDL, attitude adjustment, install re-education. I couldn't tell you which one of those I prefer. Maybe if you can hold the attitude adjustment, play that next turn, you like get even more money. Which we're going to have to do some ice resins at some point, right? So maybe that's correct. But yeah, okay, cool. I do not dislike this play. If I had to trash a card from this hand, what would it be? Hollow Man. These are both supercharged, which is lovely. We've got the YDL, which is great, and this Serevna on the remote server at some point, if we're not going to just kill him now. Which we can see he's got the class act, and he's like halfway through his deck. So, yeah. What does he do? He doofs us. We do not care. We couldn't care less about this doof. But he does get the Wake Implant counter. And last click, he runs HQ again, which I think this is a really savvy play, actually. Because it gets you this for cheaper, gets you a turtle counter, and it gets you a weight counter. There's a chance you just like Hermes or something. I really like this play. And we get it down. Right. Now, your Santa here. We've got double Hollow Man and dupe Stad re-education. Double Hollow Man costs 12, 16 credits. We can do this kill. With the predictive in hand, we're really close. Because we could play the predictive, go to 8 cards in hand, and have enough credits to do it. But we would not get the kill off. We could make him shuffle back his entire hand and tempo score the re-education. I think that's bad. I wouldn't do that. Because we know we just like drop a bunch of agendas. But yeah, okay. So, but we know we can do that next time if he gets the second class hat down. So we can just install the Spin Doctor and be good to do this again next turn. And have like pretty convincing odds. With the Wake where it is at the moment. Oh, also the Prance on the remote doesn't do anything, so we're actually mad scared. But the magnet does do something. But run HQ, run the remote. So if this was a Serevna, we'd be safe on the remote. If this was a ping, we'd be unsafe on the remote. And if it's the magnet, we're safe. If I was in Coda, I would probably like run HQ, run the remote. Oh no, if it's Serevna, we probably aren't safe. So I might just click one, run the remote, and then get punished by magnet, but yeah. If I'm Santa here, I'd probably install the Serevna, install the Spin Doctor, click for a credit or something. But he purges. I don't think I've ever purged as Azmari. This play is like too slow. But actually here, it might do something for us. It might actually be enough if he didn't have the second class act. Um, right. He can boomerang get an HQ, but this is good because we were taxing cards out the grip. Not that many though. Um, is there a reason why he doesn't just run the remote after doing this? He's got one credit. Okay, so the ping would have kept him out. He plays some events and he cycles those. If we hadn't purged and we'd instead double installed, it's hard to say. But unfortunately, we now got 3 wake counts. This is like rough, right? And some people, when they talk about the criminal matchup, they'll say that criminal is favored. And that's because if criminal can get you to this point with the Hermes on the table, it's actually so hard for you to win from this board state. And like purging is like a perfect sign of why it's so tough. Um, because Class Act gets you through piranhas for free. They got Wake Implant. They're going to see 4 on R&D. There are currently 5 agendas in 9 cards. They could just straight win the game. Um, it's scary because of punitive though, so they're disincentivized from doing that. Um, but yeah, essentially, I think that this is probably we've lost the game at this stage. Like, if the runner plays this well, uh, goes for a big dig, is able to challenge the remote when they've got lots of cards in hand, um, then it could be really tough. Yeah, like I think if we're going up to 9, what do we do? What do I do as the corp here? Drawing this is actually good. Um, right. We're going to get stuff bounced, and he knows which one's the agenda, which is really sad. He knows this because we had a Rashida in here, and it was our last install. So he knows these 3 are upgrades. Legally, there's only 2 things that this could be. Just 2 Hollow Men and a Dupe Stab, or 3 Hollow Men. But I think he's guessing it's 2 Hollow Men dupe. Um, so yeah, what do I do here? I install Serevna, I install Spin Doctor, and I advance for education. Why do I say that? Because an advanced free education gives us a cheaper out for doing this stuff. It means that we only need 11 credits to do the straight combo if he doesn't play a class act. But if he does play a class act, we have Hollow Man advance, single advance, play predictive, res a Spin Doctor, finish with 10 cards in hand and a bunch of credits. We could double advance. Serevna, double advance. We don't need the Spin Doctor. And that would give us a line of predictive YDL Hollow Man advance. But realistically, I don't actually think. I think if the runner plays this right, we don't have a line to win. We draw. Okay. We play a YDL. That's good. It gives us money, and we're going to install the Serevna. We're going to install the Spin Doctor. On its own, Spin Doctor doesn't give us enough to actually contest a 3rd class act kill, or like class act get out of the way. And we've just seen 2 of them. So I don't love this. An advancement, actually, with this in hand, an advancement does so much more for us than a Spin Doctor does. Obviously, we're scared about Hermes, But if they like run R&D and bounce everything, I think we've lost the game anyway. What do we get? Uh, they run archives. They're gonna have so much money at the end of this. I see. Okay, so they think that we have agendas and archives, which is a very, very reasonable assumption given the state we're in. Um, thank God we don't. But they run there, which I think is the correct play for them. And then he plays Inside Job. He hasn't realised that he can't break this Piranhas, because this is obviously a Spin Doctor. But this is the big misplay, right? This is the bad moment where he loses the game. Well, actually, no. Even with this misplay, he's still odds on to win, I think. But slightly less than before. So he runs, we end the run. We've got a second gender in hand, which is also great news. Third gender in hand is fantastic news. This is actually really good for us. He bravados R&D. It costs him a couple of credits. Right. There are 4 cards left in the deck. 4 of them are agendas, which is scary. He knows, well, but also gets 6 points. And a punitive kill is very much on the table. Double punitive is also equally on the table. If we spin back a punitive and play predictive planogram into double punitive, he's probably going to have 15 credits. To get the double punitive, he'd have to play the class act, and we could definitely double punitive him next turn off of that play if we need to. So the question is, do we think feeding 6 points at this point is safe? I think the answer is as safe as it's going to be. Last click, he will either install a class act, or failing that, he will run HQ and spend a credit. And at that point, he'll have a 50-50 to win the game on the spot. But I don't think we have. But I think we can take the 50-50. Like that would be the line I would take here. I don't think we're ever comboing out once we get this Hermes bounce off. Maybe that's naive, but with the turtle where it is and with the number of genders like in flight, we preemptively shuffle back the punitives. I think this is just wrong because he can just bounce the re-education, but he decides not to, and that's the bit that means that we win the game. This last turn by the runner, 2 huge mistakes. One of them is inside job the remote without enough cards in hand, and then 2, we bounce the wrong card. I think that's a familiarity with the matchup thing. Piranha is also the weakness of Piranhas. But yeah. And then last click, we're actually rewarded for not for doing the punitive spin here, because he only stole 3 points, which definitely doesn't happen if we don't spin back before, and it means that he doesn't have his last click aligned to win. But really, this is like unpunished for what was like definite mistake on both sides. And so, and lastly, he plays the pinhole, so he knows about one of these, and yeah, and clearly he doesn't know that this is the re-education on top, so he accesses it, and it is the game. Hey, it's very easy for your opponents to make mistakes playing against this deck. That's the 11 turns is a very long Azmari game. Normally they have far fewer clicks to play with, and they do make mistakes. But yeah, so all in all, what are my main takeaways? Santa did fantastically with a deck that he hadn't played much before, and won a whole tournament with it, which is amazing. I hope it kind of demonstrates some of the power of the deck. But we saw explicitly the weaknesses of this ice suite, and I would really recommend moving over to this one. I think this deck is much less open to punishment. And we saw that like the way in which little incremental mistakes about ice placement massively contributed to the economy of the deck in a way that I think is quite subtle and difficult to understand, or like at face value. But lots of issues with ice placement. We got a bit lucky with the damage that we did as well. So a little bit of luck, a little bit of mistakes. I don't think that. I think that like yeah, and off a bad keep as well. Like there's all sorts of reasons why I actually think that um, yeah, Santa could have been in a much more comfortable position even without his opponent's mistakes. So yeah. Thank you again to Santa for letting me letting me review this game. I hope that this is useful. If you are looking to get into Azmari, please do, and feel free to send me any messages. Thank you very much for watching. I'll chat to you later. Bye.